Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to the top 5 set review for each color. Today we're doing the foundation set. This is a big set because this foundation is going to be legal and standard for 5 years. So these cards in the set is going to shape standard for the next 5 years, which is a long time. And honestly, I like the cards that I've seen so far. Not so far, all of them actually from the set. We have some old throwbacks that are powerful and then some new ones as well. But let's go ahead and dive in to the 5 top 5s. Okay, we'll start with white. Coming number 5 for white is Herald of Eternal Dawn. You've seen Platinum Angel. Now, what if Platinum Angel had Flash as well? And also a bigger power and toughness. So it's 7 mana for a 6/6 flyer with Flash. And it says you can't lose the game and your opponents can't win the game. Now, I have to imagine at some point in Standard, there'll be ways to protect this card that are cheap, or hopefully maybe like if we get a set with like Pact Negation, it's just really powerful. The fact that it has Flash makes it even more powerful than Platinum Angel, right? Platinum Angel is awkward because you have to pay 7 mana and then pass a turn. It's an artifact, so red decks can usually abrade Platinum Angel and stuff. Where Herald of Eternal Dawn, like if opponent taps out to win the game, either the mana like to cast Approach at the second sun, you can flash this in and not lose, or if they alpha strike you with all creatures, you can flash this in, go to some negative numbers, and still be fine. Just a super sweet card that I'm sure will have a home somewhere down the road in the next 5 years. So definitely gonna get this one a slot. Commit number 4 is going to be an all-star for sure. Especially against red decks. Crystal Barricade. Crystal Barricade is a 2 mana 0/4 with Defender. It's a wall. It says you have hexproof, so you can target spells or abilities that your opponents control. And it says prevent all non-combat damage that will be dealt to other creatures you control. So this forces the red player to burn this. And 0/4 is a nice is a very nice like number. Because usually their spells deal 2 or 3 damage. Not many do deal 4. If the ones that deal 4 don't go face, right? So Monterey is going to have to be packing braids for this card, but this is going to be an all-star against red decks in general. So definitely a sweet card, and one that we kind of need, I think, especially in Magic Arena for best of 1. Aggro's massive. This is a great card to help deal with that. If nothing else, it's a great sideboard card. Coming on number 3 is Johnny Call of the Pride. This is a reprint. 3 mana Planeswalker. His +1 puts a counter on creature control. His -3 jumps a creature, gives it a flying and double strike. I've seen some people talking about the enchantment that has Flash that gives double strike. But I think Johnny is better than that, the enchantment, because he does that and he lives, and he does other things as well. If you ever get to his ultimate, you get to make a bunch of cat tokens that swarm the board that your opponent has to deal with or lose the game. But the biggest thing is just growing your creature early, +1/+1, and then the threat of jumping the creature and giving it a double strike is huge and potentially game ending, especially in a Boros type shell. Number 2 is a new card. It's called Raise the Past. So for 4 mana, you can turn all creature cards with mana value 2 or less from the graveyard to the battlefield. I've seen the rally decks of old where they reanimate a bunch of 2 or 1 drops, and then just sack them all to do crazy stuff. And I have to assume somewhere in the next 5 years this will be a combo card where you mill yourself or you bring back all your small creatures and you're able to kill the opponent somehow by either draining them or attacking them somehow. This is definitely a combo card. At the very least, it can be used as a sideboard card as a way to regrow creatures after they are destroyed. Probably not so hot as long as Sunfall is legal, but once Sunfall goes away and we start seeing people play Day Judgment, which is also in the set as well, then I feel like this card can have some legs. Coming in number 1 is going to be Sky Knight Squire. This card seems pretty sweet, and I want to showcase the newer cards that I think has potential instead of just being like, oh, Day Judgment. Like, of course, Day Judgment is going to see play. But Sky Knight Squire is a 2 mana 1/1. says whenever another creature you control enters, put a counter on this creature. And as long as this creature has 3 or more counters on it, it has flying and it's Ignite in addition to other types. So I think the card out, like, I'm thinking like a token shell. You play Sky Knight Squire, you play Hop to it. The spell makes 3 rabbits, and right, you know, automatically you have a 4/4 flyer, right? That's pretty good, especially in a token, again, a token type shell. So I imagine we'll see some of those too, or even just an aggressive shell. Like we've seen the Boros Convoke decks. This can easily go in a shell like that. That's maybe more token themed. All right, move on to blue. Coming in number 5 is probably my favorite card in the set for blue. It's going to be Omniscience. Omniscience is a 10 mana enchantment that says basically you get to play a different game. You get to play not Magic. You get to play Yu-Gi-Oh or something else, but you may cast spells from your hand without paying their mana costs. It's very rare that people usually play this fairly. I don't think it's ever happened. Even if you hardcast it, it's still not, the opponent isn't going to play fair. They're going to win the game in a number of different ways. But Omniscience, there's going to be ways to cheat it out. We have Kona, the Beastie, which if it's tapped, let's cheat this out. To cheat this out, we have Portent of Calamity, which can like dig through your deck to put this into play. There are different ways to cheat this out already. And I'm sure in the next 5 years, we will see more ways to cheat it out. And I'd be surprised if not one of those decks become like a tier 2 or even tier 1 deck. Obviously in older formats, Omniscience is pretty absurd, especially with like show and tell and stuff. But this is an exciting card. It's really fun to play with. I'm excited to play with it. And it gives you an end game that's like kind of unbeatable. You know, like right now in standard, Atraxa is like the end game, essentially. It's pretty hard to beat Atraxa for the most part. But Omniscience lets you go actually over Atraxa, which is pretty wild. So, all right. Coming number 4 is gonna be Kaito, Cunning Infiltrator. I honestly like all the planeswalkers that they've given to us for each color. They all seem pretty good. Kaito is decent as well. For 3 mana, he can make a blocker for his -2, so he protects himself. His +1 lets you loot and make something unblockable, which is also good. Also, it has a static that says whenever creature control deals combat to a player, he gets bigger. So his +1 is sometimes going to be a +2, right? Or more. And his -9 says you can emblem with whenever a player casts a spell, you make a 2/1 blue creature token. Just gravy, obviously, but the first 2 are solid. Make something unblockable in your blue tempo deck. This set also has like the flash creatures like Brian Byrne Cutthroat. It has Spectral Sailor, right? And this card goes great in those decks where you can just like poke here, poke there, and then eventually be like, you know what? Okay, you have some blockers now. I'll make my guys unblockable and finish you off, or loot. So. Coming in number 3 is a blue Wrath of God, is with Aintrazi. We haven't seen this card in standard in a while, but it's a sweet one for decks playing like mono blue or not playing access to white or maybe black or even black. Aintrazi returns all attack creatures to the owner's hand. It's like the blue Sell the Wreckage. It's obviously different, not as powerful necessarily, but the fact that blue has a way to like just stop all attackers for that turn and just have a fog. And usually sets the opponent back is sweet. This will see play in blue decks that don't have a sweeper in its other colors like mono blue or maybe even blue red or blue green, even like a blue green combo deck might just have a couple of these in the sideboard or main deck just to like buy time as it ramps up, right? Because Aintrazi buys you time, and usually decks that play this just want time before the combo off or do something crazy. Coming number 2 is Sphinx of the Forgotten Lore. It's no Snapcaster Mage, but this card has Flash, and it having Flash makes it an excellent finisher for control decks, especially maybe I think especially like for Izzet decks or burn decks, like counter burn essentially. So this is a 3-mana 3/3 with Flash and flying. It says whenever it attacks, target instant source a card in your graveyard gains flashback in a turn. The flashback cost equal to its mana cost. So basically it becomes a Snapcaster Mage every time it attacks. It doesn't have to connect, which is nice. You can attack maybe hit a removal spell, like go for a throat or whatever, cast it, and then let him hit. This card just seems like a sweet control finisher, or even a mid-range finisher, or even like a counter burn, like is it burn deck finisher. It's just a very cool card. Coming number 1 is actually going to be Cancel. It's a common. New cancel is Refute. This is one of the better cancels we've seen. Refute is just 3 mana counter spell, but it's counter spell, draw a card, discard a card. And I think that's pretty powerful, especially in a like if you're able to use your graveyard. Like if you discard like Think twice, that's basically just a free card right there. If you discard, if you have waste, or even late game discarding a land, if you have waste, but like if you have waste, use your graveyard. That's the best way to do it, obviously. Or even if you discard a spell, you can always bring it back with the Sphinx we just mentioned. So basically, you want to make it so Refute is 3 mana counter spell, draw a card, and we have ways to do that with like cards like Think Twice and the Sphinx I just mentioned. So I think this card, if you build a deck correctly, is going to be very strong. All right, move on to black. Coming in number 5 is going to be Blasphemous Edict. So this card is a 5 mana sorcery that says each player sacrifices 13 creatures of their choice. You need to pay just 1 black mana rather than pay the spell's mana cost. There are 13 or more creatures on the battlefield. While that first, like that clause might not happen often, maybe Commander, but I like this card because it gets around hexproof creatures. It gets around indestructible creatures. Where like the Deadly Cover-Up is nice, but Deadly Cover-Up doesn't kill indestructible all the time, right? So Blasphemous Act is a nice way to like have in your sideboard. Or maybe there's a deck that is like heroic, where that makes its creatures indestructible or untargetable. And that's where Blasphemous Act is going to shine. So 5 of Blasphemous Act. 4 is one that has a lot of combo potential. Bloodthirsty Conqueror. It's a 5 mana 5/5 with Flying Death Touch. So if opponent loses life, you gain that much life. It's just it's the enchantment on a creature, so it attacks, which I think makes it better than the enchantment, because it can attack and block, especially in this day and age. However, it doesn't have an ETB. It's just a 5 mana 5/5 that just dies to, not Doomblade, but dies to like a go for a throw or shoot the sheriff or whatever card you want. A 2 mana black removal spell, right? But outside of that, it's still 5/5, so it's gonna be hard to deal with for non-black decks per se, or maybe white decks. But the fact that it has combo potential with the demon when it attacks, you lose half your life, or even the slasher, or even like, and then of course there's a combo with another card that says you gain life and an opponent loses life, and they can just instantly drain them until they lose the game. I think the fact that it's a combo card as well is going to put it in my top 5. Coming number 3 is going to be a very strange card. 9 Lives Familiar. 3 mana for a 1/1. A cat says when it enters, put 8 counters on it, 8 revival counters on it. Then it says when this creature dies, if it had a revival count on it, return to the battlefield with 1 fewer revival count on it at the beginning of the next end step. This is like a super powerful sack outlet, right? Like it lets you play multiple Deadly Disputes or Village Rites or Witch's Oven type cards. Like this is a sack outlet for a bunch of your sack cards, and you can do it every turn. This has got to see. This is powerful. It's got to see play somewhere. The fact that it just fuels all your sack engines for the next like 8-9 times, however many times. Obviously, it's slow. It only comes back in a turn. If it didn't, it'd be broken. Honestly, if it came back immediately, it'd be too strong, I think. But if your opponent doesn't have a way to interact with it with your graveyard, like remove it or exile it, you will get a lot of value out of this if you have the right build, the right deck. So I expect to see this cat a lot in standard, especially in sack decks, even like alongside braids, alongside anything that sacks. This card is just good. It's gonna do some work. Coming number 2 is gonna be Tiny Bones Bauble Burglar. 2 mana for 1/3. His static is fantastic. So whenever opponent discards a card, exile it from the graveyard with a stash count on it. So you are able to have a graveyard hate just for having him play. And says during your turn, you play cards you don't own with stash counters on them from exile, and mana of any type can be spent to cast those cards. What's cool about this though is like if you play this and then you mind rot them or Thoughtseize, like duress them, Thoughtseize, whatever, make them discard cards. The cards get exiled with a stash counter, right? And then even if they kill Tiny Bones, your future Tiny Bones will see them with stash counters. You can cast them as well. So it's kind of cool. Then the last has one more ability, of course, too. 4 mana, tap it. Each one discards a card. Activates only sorcery. It's also relevant, and it fuels itself, which makes it super sweet. Also, that clause is powerful in Commander, of course, but I think this card is super cool for standard as well. I think we need like one more card for make the time it's playable. One more payoff for discard. We have a few of those, but we want one more strong one, I think, to make him see play. But I'm sure we'll see one in the next 5 years. Coming number 1 for black is going to be Liliana Dreadhorde General. This is a reprint. This card is just so good for mid-range decks or mid-range decks. It's just so. Her static play is powerful, which is whenever you control dies, draw a card. Her +1 makes a 2/2 zombie. Her -4. Each player sacrifices 2 creatures of their choice. So it's a wrath, or it's a threat, or it's a card value engine. Also with Innkeeper's Talent, it is now a combo piece. So -9, not -9. Each opponent chooses a permanent they control of each permanent type and sacrifices the rest. This is the same set as Doubling Season and Innkeeper's Talent. Is in standard as well. So Golgari can play this, and this is, I think, better than Vraska. Sure, Vraska wins like right away with her minus. Liliana, 99% of the time is going to win with it minus as well. And Liliana's abilities are just better. Obviously she costs 1 more than Vraska. You can play both, obviously. You can play both if you want to. But Liliana is a powerful engine that it can she protects herself by making creatures or wrathing the board a little bit, casting Barter and Blood essentially, and then also can threaten with an ultimate or combo with it, with things like talent. Great card. Move on to red. Number 5 is gonna be Slackstorm. Slackstorm is an old one, a reprint, but it is sweet. So this one deals 3 damage each player or each creature. And the fact that it does both allows even like red decks plays on their sideboard. If they need reach, they can burn the opponent out, or they can wrath the board. It's also great in big red decks, like red decks going bigger, that can have the option to wrath creatures, small creatures, or go face. So the versatility of this card is nice. The only thing I wish exiled creatures, but doesn't. But regardless, it's still a solid spell. Coming number 4 is another Planeswalker. I think they're all pretty good. Chandra Flame Shaper, 7 mana. It's a lot of mana. That's like the mana for Karn Liberated, it's mana for Bolas as well. Some Boluses rather, not all of them. But she's 7 mana for 6 loyalty. Her +2 says add 3 red, exile top of cards of your library, choose 1. You may play that card this turn. This is what I'm saying like big red, right? If you exile like Slackstorm, you can play it right away. Essentially makes her only cost 4 mana, essentially, because you use 3 mana to cast another spell. Her +1, it makes a token that's a copy of a target creature you control, except it has haste and then dies in the turn. That's pretty sweet. Copy legendary creatures, whatever you want. If you have some sort of combo, you can do that as well, like untap creature, like not Restoration Angel, but something like Village Bellringer. You can like untap some stuff. You can't combo off fully, obviously, but still just a sweet card or value engine. Maybe copy Atraxa if you want. And then her -4, the fact that she has 3 abilities that you can use right away is nice. Her -4 deals 8 damage divided as you choose when you aim at target creatures and or planeswalkers. So she comes into play. She can kind of like clear the board up, or she can do card advantage and go higher, or she can make copies of token, copy a creature and just go nuts. This card is sweet. The only drawback is it costs 7 mana, which is a lot of mana. But she does a lot. So definitely thinks that this one's sweet. Obviously, it's more of a big red card or a ramp card in itself. But yeah, I like it. Coming number 3 is very simple, very clean. Burst Lightning. It's a shock that has upside. You can kick it and it deals 4 damage. 4 damage is dead. Great for burn decks. Great for mid-range decks. Great for big red decks. Just solid reprint. Great card all around. Coming number 2 is going to be Bolt Wave. This is the new better Lava Spikes. For 1 mana, deals 3 damage to each opponent. What's cool about this card is it dodges Leyline of Sanctity and dodges the card we saw earlier, Crystal Barricade. Crystal Barricade gives you hexproof. Bolt Wave does not care about that. If you have hexproof, it's going to still deal the opponent 3. So, sweet card. Obviously, again, great commander. Deals 9 overall, but great if you have a way to, like, you know, utilize that like Niv or something. But still excellent card standard. All right, coming number 1 is going to be Kellen, Planar Trailblazer. It's 1 mana 2/1. So Red Savannah Lions. That's not quite good enough, but it's pretty good. But it has abilities, right? So on turn 2, you can make it a give it an ability that says when it deals combat damage to a player, it goes top card of the library, and you may play that card this turn. And then you can do it again, and he says if he's a detective already, excuse me, he becomes a 3/2 human fairy rogue and gains double strike. So just like that, he's a 2/1 is good, but with bonuses as well. So he then if he's not dealt with, he starts getting you cards. If he has double strike, he gets you 2 cards, right? So just a solid 1-drop for red decks, if nothing else, with upside. All right, moving on to my favorite color, the green. All right, number 5 is going to be Genesis Wave. This is an old one. Genesis Wave says, reveal the top X cards of your library. You may put any number of permanent cards with mana value X or less from among them onto the battlefield, and put all of the cards this way that weren't put on the battlefield into your graveyard. This card is awesome. Just very fun card that lets you go big and do silly things. It's also in the same set as Land Elves and Elvish Archdruid. You can generate a ton of mana by going mono green and just like ramping like crazy and just putting a lot of stuff into play. Obviously, it's a little weak to counter magic, but still so sick. It's so sick. Again, especially with like enchantments and planeswalkers, doubling season, and like ultimating your planeswalkers that turn if you want to, or you can make a giant board with creatures, or just ramp with a bunch of lands and do some land shenanigans, right? And maybe if you want, you can sacrifice your lands if you want to. It's just a sweet card, very sweet card. I love it. So excited to see this one see play. Speaking of Elvish Archdruid, number 4 is Elvish Archdruid. He's an elf lord, and he gives and then he taps for each elf you control. Great with Genesis Wave, but also great in any elf deck, of course, too. Just this is a staple in elf deck if we have enough elves. Number 3 is gonna be Vivian Reed. She was great when she was in standard last time too. Her +1 digs for a creature or land, which is solid. Her -3 kills a flyer, kills enchantments and artifacts as well, which is very relevant right now in standard. You have Atraxa, you have Leyline Binding, you have the caretaker's talents, of course. You have Leyline Resonance. You have the Urbrath's Forge. Vivian Reed is just very solid right now in a green type deck. Also, again, she can go in the Golgari deck because Golgari has the Innkeeper's talent if they want, right? And ultimate can happen with talent, which gives all creatures +2/+2, vigilance, trample, and indestructible, which is obviously all very powerful abilities. But yeah, so the fact that she also goes in the Golgari deck and has the way to ultimate right away and kill your opponent is sweet too. Coming number 2 is just old classic. A lot of classics here for green. Scavenging Ooze. 2 mana, 2/2. Exile target card from a graveyard if it was a creature card. Put a counter on this creature and you gain 1 life. Just super solid main deck depending on the metagame. Great sideboard as well. Just a very... It's not crazy, but it does its job. Ooze does its job, and it's great against the Knights, Mosswood Dread Knights. Great against even the 9 lives cat. Just a very solid card to have the next 5 years, and I think it's awesome that we have it. Coming number 1, I think this is the best card in this set actually, for green and for I think overall, honestly, just Land Elves. Land Elves is a 1 mana. Y'all know what Land Elves. 1 mana, 1/1. Tap, add green, 1 mana. Tap, add green mana. It's just very solid. It's always been a staple in every standard it's legal in. It always warps green decks and mid-range and aggro decks to shape around it. It just does a lot, especially on the play, on the draw, whatever. It's just a powerful card that you will want to have an answer for early, like a bolt or a shock or whatever. Yeah, 1 mana creature that ramps. I wish it was Birds of Paradise personally, but you know, honestly, or I also wish we got like Farseek or Rampant Growth, but this is a really great card, very solid card, and just through all formats, honestly. All right, moving on to the last part is we're going to combine artifacts, lands, and multicolor, because a lot of the multicolor cards are honestly, I feel like more for commander. So I'm just going to combine all of them together here and just do the top 5 instead of doing like, because doing like multicolor that cards that won't see play, I don't think. Card number 5 is going to be Solemn Simulacrum. Sad Robot, if you know that. It's 4 mana, 2/2. When it comes in play, you get a basic land. When it dies, you draw a card. This card actually won me games won me US Nationals. I played Blue Black Control, and it was super great in a control deck because control doesn't usually ramp, and this was a roadblock that bought you time, that ramped you into like Grave Titan. You go turn 4 Solemn, and then turn 5 Grave Titan or Sphinx, Consecrated Sphinx. It's great in that deck. It's never like broken by any means, but when it does its job of like ramping you and then blocking and then drawing a card, it's great. You know, if it happens to trade the creature, it's even better. It's like a 3-for-1, right? It's not exciting. It's not like flashy. It's kind of slow, so you need to be able to like do stuff around it, like kill creatures. You can't really play on the ramp deck necessarily because you're too far behind. But if you're able to like slow the game down and then play this, like I imagine like Golgari could play this, right? Golgari slowing the game down. This helps you ramp into your Planeswalkers, your Vivian Reeds or whatever, while also blocking and drawing cards. It's also great for Delirium if you need types for that. So just a very solid creature. Not crazy, but again, another great one to have. Number 4 is one that's very interesting to me. It's the Moan Paradox Sculptor. I want to put one of these commander-ish cards, look like commander in here, and Zimone is going to be my pick. So Zimone says at the beginning of combat on your turn, put a +1 counter on each of the 2 target creatures you control. So for 4 mana, she gets to like grow herself at least to 2/5 and something else. But what's really cool is not only does she work well with counters, she works well with all counters, not just +1. So her other ability is tap her in Simic colors, double number each kind of counter on 2 target creatures and or artifacts you control. So she's gonna do some weird things, right? She can double charge counters and artifacts. At the very least, she can double +1 counters on creatures, flying counters, whatnot. Obviously, double flying counters isn't that great, but this one just seems interesting to me. And could see play in like a hardened scales type of deck. Coming number 3 is going to be a reprint as well. It's going to be Heroic Reinforcements. So for 4 mana, you get to make 2/1/1 soldiers that get haste. Well, all creatures get haste, and those creatures, and then everything is +1. If there's like a small over the ground deck like Boros Convoke or just small creatures, we can just kill opponent out of nowhere. Like this is also just pretty solid after a Wrath by itself. Dealing 4 damage after a Wrath is pretty decent. If you have any follow up or token makers, you can just kind of go nuts. So it's good in token decks or very low the ground decks. Card number 2, I thought about this putting this a little lower, but I'm ultimately I said number 2 just because I always underestimate creature lands. So Soulstone Sanctuary is number 2. It's a creature land. It adds colorless. It's basically Mutavault, but for 4 mana. But it's still Mutavault. So Soulstone Sanctuary costs 4 to activate, and the 3/3 creature with vigilance and it's all creature types is still land, right? Like again, even like in the elf deck, or the Elvish Archduke deck, or the Gen's Wave deck, this is gonna be a solid finisher in that deck, right? And obviously it does cost 4, but the land itself doesn't tap when it attacks. So if you have something to play afterwards, you can like take a mana away from it, because it only costs 3 mana, essentially. Not 3 mana, but like doesn't cost. What I'm trying to say, like Mutavault costs 1 mana to activate, right? And then you tag with it. So basically you've used 2 mana, right? Because it's tapped. So this is double Mutavault, but it's a little bigger. And again, it's a creature land. So yeah, I want to put it a little lower, but I think also you'll see play. It's just a colorless creature land that's solid, especially in like a tribal synergy, like elves especially. Coming number 1 is I'm just gonna respect aggro now, and just gonna put Swiftblade Vindicator, 2 mana for a 1/1, double strike, vigilance, trample, and y'all have seen the Leyline Resonance decks and the pump decks, and this is just like, and this has all your stuff. All it's asking is, hey, just please grow me, and I'll kill your opponent. So if you have ways to protect this card and or grow it, or even again Leyline Resonance, this is going to be pretty explosive. They did ban Leyline Resonance in best of 1, but even still, even just like in a Boros shell, this is like you almost have to kill this. If you don't, it threatens lethal very quickly. With just a few pump spells or equipment spells or whatever. So super cool card for aggro players. But yeah, overall, I think this set's cool. I wish we had more newer cards, but I think this set's awesome. I'm excited to play with it. I'm really excited for Omniscience, Doubling Season. There's a bunch of cards on here that I didn't put on here that are more fun, like Doubling Season. This Wave is cool. There's just a lot of cool cards, and I'm excited to play with all of them and just brew around with them. So yeah, if you're gonna buy these cards, make sure to use code Ollie5, save 5% off your entire order. And also come watch live sometime over at twitch.tv/Aintrazi, where I'll be brewing with these cards. Probably we watch this video. When watching this video, these cards should be coming out on Twitch and Arena. So yeah, come check me out. Thanks for watching, y'all. Appreciate you. I'll catch you next time. Peace out.